We shot a few long distance matches, all using Athlon scopes though. The longest shot was 2,200 yards out at Spear Point Ranch in Kansas. Right now I've got a Savage Stealth 6.5 Creedmoor. It's done well over the course of the year. We had some issues the very last match, but it's had a good life. It's held up well for what I've needed it to. I use, for most matches, my Chronos. If I'm shooting a production division PRS match, that is the dollar amount limit I have to stay with. We also have the Chronos BTR, which I really enjoy. But again, with some of those match limits, we have to be careful. Some of the local matches, I'll use the Chronos BTR just for fun. My husband also shoots, so we have to pick and choose which one each one of us are going to actually use for that match. I started off with the Argos BTR, enjoyed it a lot, eventually outgrew it and wanted to get something a little better. So currently I use the Chronos. Oh, definitely a 10. A 10, a 12 if I could. It's very important. I have to have that reliability and make sure that what I dial is going to be true and to track correctly. If I have to second guess my elevation and second guess my scope being on or not, I'm not going to be able to do well. If you have to second guess your elevation and wind calls, that's so much to have to worry about. I can use any of the Athlon scopes and know that they're going to track and track true. If I need to go out to 300 yards to 2,200 yards, it's going to be correct. 6.5 Creedmoor is what my Savage Stealth is. We hand load all of our rounds. We'll test and see what the rifle likes best. As the barrel life starts to wear out, things can even change that way. We use Lapua brass. We had Hornady in the past. It treated us well. We simply just used it up, and knowing that next year I would need a different caliber, we decided to go with the Lapua brass so we can get more life even out of it and neck it down to the 6mm when I needed to. Use the Nosler bullets, 140 grain RDFs. They've been awesome. As long as we get that load that the rifle likes, just stay consistent with that, and until the rifle life changes, that load will be on. It's very nice to not have to worry about. No, sometimes it feels like I do. No, I have a full-time job and this is my hobby on the side. That would be awesome. No, I don't though. I'm a pharmacist full-time. I love my full-time job. And if I could incorporate shooting in to be every second of spare time, I would absolutely do that. If I could even do half and half, that'd be awesome. Right at a year, maybe a year and a half. I started with a 223, so the first maybe 6 months were for fun. Going out there against a lot of the other guys who were shooting 6.5 dashers, I mean all sorts of different rounds in my little 223 without even a magazine, just hand loading a few at a time. It was fun, but I wouldn't consider it competitive. Really in the past year or so it's been where I can actually call myself a competitive shooter and go out and do well. I'm in the production class right now. Although in 2018 I will be making the jump to the open class, which I'm very excited about. The production class is really just a way to get people into the sport, to show that you don't have to spend a lot on a rifle or on optics to get in, start shooting, and to even do well. You can't exceed 4,000 combination. I believe it's 2,000 for the optic and 2,000 for the rifle. and you can't go over that. If you do, you're considered open class at that point. The idea is that in production class, you don't have to spend an arm and a leg to shoot, and as you progress, as you get better as a shooter, the idea is you then transition into the open class and start doing more modifications on your rifle, maybe building a custom rifle at that point, and opening up the production class again for new shooters who are coming in who are less experienced, and give them a chance to do well and have fun. Well, in the production class, I've come away with a few #1 finishes at a couple of different events. The Gap Grind, I was #1 production there. Heat Stroke, I was #1 production there as well. I was #2 at Spear Point at one of their PRS event they had. And of course the finale, I was #1 there as well, which is great. It's actually weighted double what the other ones are weighted, which ended up putting me in the top spot overall for the production division. Going into 2018, I'm going to be part of Team Bighorn. They're going to be providing me with an action to use, and I'll be building my custom rifle around that, which I'm very excited about. I'll be using the Kronos BTR as well, which I also love. Kronos has treated me well, but the Kronos BTR is just that much better. Well, it's been phenomenal. I mean, I started with one of their scopes on the lower end and was very happy with it and learned a lot from it, and learned that as long as I get a scope that tracks and that stays on and that I can rely on, then it's all on me. As I progressed as a shooter and started getting into the more competitive realm of things and going into and getting a Kronos, and sometimes being able to use the Kronos BTR, I was able to not have to think about any changes in elevation that I might have to do in the middle of a match. Or if it was very early in the morning, which we often start matches, first shots ring out at 8 a.m. Well, that can mean the sun is rising in your face as your first rounds are going down range, and sometimes you can't see them. A lot of shooters sometimes during these morning matches would completely lose sight of the target of their rounds, and most of the time I could still see everything. Or at dusk, sometimes, especially in the winter matches, as the sun starts setting earlier, the sun's going down and you're shooting into it, and it gets really difficult to see very quickly. Fortunately, with the Athlon scopes that I've used, I haven't had that really as an issue. Any little bit of light that is available, it sucks in almost. Sometimes I look at the scope and think, oh, it's not that bad, and look out into the real world and it's darker than it was in my scope just a second ago. It just uses every little light available so I can see my target and see what exactly I'm going for, so I can hit it when others can't.